Okay, why don't you start and tell everyone a little bit about you, your story, where you live now, what does your family look like, and all of that?
Okay, so my name is Britteney Barber, and I have been in the digital marketing online virtual assistant space for a little over a year and a half now. I am an Army brat and an Air Force turned Space Force wife, and I am a mom of three. I have a 10-year-old and I have 7-year-old twins.
Gosh, and where are you living now?
I am currently in the Washington, D.C. area on Fort Belvoir.
Which is so fun because I just left that area. So we just passed
Yes.
each other, but I'm sure we'll meet up in person soon.
Yes.
So tell everyone what you were doing maybe before you became a military spouse and gave up your career. Like did you go to school? What did you want to do with your life? Like paint us the picture of your original plan.
I married young and right out of college, and I have a bachelor's degree in public relations, communications. And as a military spouse, I very quickly realized that public relations is not great when you're moving around and you don't know your market. They don't want you. And if they do want you, they don't want to pay you well. And so I found myself actually in the administrative office manager type roles for companies that I never in a million years would have dreamt I would have worked for, but I loved the job. It was right in my wheelhouse, just not what I thought I was going to be doing. And when we started talking about having a family, I realized this is not going to work. I don't want to be in a job like this when we have a family. And so I ended up going back to school and getting a master's degree in elementary education. Spent a few years in the classroom before we started our family and realized I cannot go and pour out my heart to these kids in the classroom and also have anything left to come home for my own kids. And so that threw me into just being a full-time mom. And once my twins came along, at that point, I had three in 2.5 years. 3 kids in 2.5 years. And that pretty much solidified that I would be staying home for a little while. So from there, kind of an important part of my story is I dedicated the next 10 years. I'm doing my mom thing, but I needed to use my brain for something else. And so I dedicated 10 years to an organization called MOPS. If you're a mom, you might have heard of it. It just stands for Mothers of Preschoolers. And we get together and do the mom thing while our kids are doing something else. And over those years, found myself in a lot of different leadership positions, anything from doing communications to event planning to eventually coordinating a group of 130 of these moms. At that point, I was managing a huge budget and a leadership team of 21 people underneath me. From there, I thought, okay, I'm going to retire from this volunteer position because it was volunteer. It was just to keep my brain fresh. And then I got approached to launch a brand new MOPS group in the area that I had just moved to. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. So now I'm like officially retired from MOPS for the second time because I just kept going back. But I mentioned that because those skills that I kind of honed while I was volunteering all that time really lent well to my online business that I have now.
Okay, the way you said that was so eloquent. And I want to explore that because I struggle with how to say this too, but you're saying you wanted to use your brain. Did you know this right away as a stay-at-home mom, or is it something that kind of creeped in over time?
Oh, that is a great question. So I would say motherhood did not come easily for me. It's a dream fulfilled that I always knew that I wanted to be a mom. As a little girl, I dreamed about being a mom and being a teacher. And when I got there, it just wasn't anything like it was in my dreams, if I'm being totally real and honest with you here. And motherhood was a tough transition. And that mom fog, that brain fog is a real thing. And I just felt like I was losing myself. I was slipping away. I wasn't a good wife. I didn't feel like a good mother. At the time, I wasn't being a good friend. And just having something to focus my brain power on that produced tangible results that affected people pulled me out of that black hole of nothingness, of the mundane everyday life that I was stuck in with 3 kids in diapers. And mind you, I had just moved, military spouse, from Colorado to LA with 2-month-old twins and a 2.5-year-old. So here, if you don't hear how I was spinning just in my story, I couldn't even paint a crazier picture of what was going on in my life. And so having something to focus on really grounded me and just said, okay, you have a purpose beyond the endless dishes, the endless laundry, the constant starting over. You have something bigger than yourself, basically.
Yeah. And whenever I say something like that, it's not that I don't love being a mother and I don't love taking
Exactly.
care of my kids, but I've always needed something else. And it just gave me a pep in my step and something to work my brain toward. And I like challenges and puzzles and figuring things out. And so when I talk about this kind of work and how life-changing it is, and
Yeah.
it sets us up for success when our kids are school age or are leaving the house, because we know this from other moms, that we can't have our whole world our children, because our whole job as a mother is to prepare them to leave us. And then, women have those identity crisis.
Totally. And it's so easy to do. I mean, I absolutely love and adore my kids, and I made the choice and wanted to be home with them. But I also knew that I needed something that didn't center around my kids. It's necessary for me.
Yeah. So how did your freelance work start? And you completely retired from MOPS the second time when you picked up this work?
No, no. So I kept hearing myself say, I want to do exactly this, but I want to get paid for it. I want to do all of this same stuff. I don't want to give up anything that I'm doing right now. I still want to coordinate, plan, organize, lead, do the communications, connect people together, have a bigger purpose, but I just want to get paid for it. I'm volunteering so much of my time, which I was so grateful to do, but I just want to also eventually have a career. Well, that comes with a long list of, but also, it has to be able to move with me. I don't want to start over. I want to be available to be a mom first. What I realized in my volunteer time is that I am a better wife. I'm a better mom. I'm a better friend when I have something to channel my productivity towards. I have this really long list of, I want this, but I also want all of these. I don't want to have to ask for time off. I want flexibility. I want to be able to take the day off if my kids are sick and not have to interrupt my husband's work day. And I just thought, there's no way that this is ever going to happen. This isn't possible. This does not exist. So actually it sounds so silly to say, but I have to give the credit to my mom, because my mom is a small business owner, an avid podcast listener. She is my biggest confidant and also my biggest cheerleader. And after the 1 millionth time of listening to me bellyache about this long list of this is what I want, she said, I listened to this podcast today and the guest was Reagan. If there has ever been a person for you, she is it. You have to connect with her. You have to see what she's doing. She said, I don't care if you do anything with it, but you have to at least hear her out and see what she's doing. She's a mom like you. She's a military spouse like you. And she is rocking it in this VA world. And I was like, VA? I mean, you say this all the time. VA means something totally different to me. And I was like, yeah, but I don't have any skills. I don't have any expertise. I haven't been working for 10 years. I'm just a mom. I'm just a mom and I'm just a wife. And well, my mom got tired of hearing me say that. And she's like, no, you're not. You need to get connected with Emily. And so I started the process of like kind of seeing what you were up to, checking out your Facebook group, checking out your free trainings. And it took all of about a week for me to realize that I have to do this. I have to. It started out with that download of the top 10 tasks that small business owners are looking for right now. And I said, I've already been doing probably 7 of these. It just never in my mind dawned on me that I could turn it into my own business, doing things my own way. And so I listened to because at the time you didn't have your podcast. And so I was listening to every Facebook Live. And I don't remember the exact guest, but I do remember that she really got a hold of me in my heart because she said, everybody wants to know what your superpower is. Everybody wants to know, what are you an expert at? And she said, I'm not an expert at anything. I'm just really good at a lot of things. And I was like, that is me.
I love this so much because we're getting conflicting messages as women. One, this, Zennial type generation, we're told that we have to do it all and do it well.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of like breakdown and stressors coming from trying to have the career, be the good parents that are opposite of the latchkey kids of the 80s. So we're in this kind of stressful situation and told that we can do it all. And the fact is we can't, there has to be a balance. But we also can if we, you and I are in a privileged position. We are both married to officers. We don't have to work,
right?
But we choose to. And I want to acknowledge that. Sure. But we can find a job that has us that balance. And I've talked to friends who went to law school and ended up working 60 hours a week just to, just to get at the bottom rung in the law firm. And that wasn't the life they wanted either. My doctor friends, I haven't seen them in a decade. They've been like working so hard. And I'm not saying we don't have a good work ethic, but I don't feel like I need to learn that lesson the hard way. And I also have a very similar story with you as far as, being married to the military, trying to balance my career, start over, raise the kids, like be the default parent. And it was too hard. I knew I would crack eventually, not living near family, not having that extra support that we would get. Like when you move to LA with 2-month-old twins, like I can't imagine starting over just trying to find a babysitter so you can go to the GYN, So I like that you said that. And I also like that you brought up the point that we can be multi-talented. And I am so against the grain with what everyone is saying out there. They're all saying you have to be specialized and niche down. You really can be multi-talented and do well at this work, because ultimately business owners are hiring that work ethic, that ability to get things done. Like you could be niche down in whatever random skill, but if you can't help the team and be an asset and figure things out, like you're not hireable.
Yeah. I mean, by the time I started my business, my education was out of date. I had kept my skills up to date, but it's hard to say, well, here's my resume. It's 10 years of volunteer service. And while that is priceless time honing those skills, some companies are going to look at you and go, yeah, but, and I didn't want that to be wasted time. I knew that if someone was willing to give me the chance, I could very quickly and very easily show them that I'm a beneficial teammate to them. And that's exactly what ended up happening for me.
We're talking about spring of last year is when you found me. And then you said you made that decision in a week to take your course.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny how it all happened. I mentioned that my mom connected me to you through a podcast that you were a guest on. I sort of just started cyber stalking you and soaking up anything free that was on your site that I possibly could get my hands on. At the time, you were not going to be opening up your course again until the summer. And this was like mid-March. And I was devastated because I thought, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this. So I got on your wait list and I just patiently waited and tried to soak up as much of your free resources as I could. At the time, my mom had a client who needed some help in Canva. And my mom said, hey, this is not my wheelhouse, but I have this client. She needs some help. Would you mind taking a look? I was like, okay, yes, I will. And so I did. And that she ended up being my first client before I even was able to sign up for the course. And so I I launched my business backwards. I got my client first, and then I was like, okay, we're doing this. So the seed had been planted in my mind. Someone had been referred to me. It ended up being a great relationship. And then lo and behold, COVID hit. And I do not know what changed in your mind, but I got this glorious email that said, surprise, I'm opening the doors. If you've been on my wait list, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this now. And I said, yes. Okay, sign me up. So I started your course on April 1st. In your course, very beginning of the course, you say often, start talking to the people around you about what you want to do. At this point, I'm living in another state. I'm in Alabama now. And I remembered a good friend of mine in LA took a Pinterest course years ago. And I thought, well, I love Pinterest for myself. Let me reach out to her and see what this course was about. And I reached out to her and she said, well, that course is way out of date. You're not going to want to take the one that I took. But she said, are you kidding me? You're launching this VA business. I need a virtual assistant. I need you yesterday. You have to be on my team. She hired me. And so here I am barely tiptoeing into your course. And I have my second client already, who is a good friend of mine, a perfect situation where we served and volunteered together at MOPS. She is a successful military veteran, now military spouse, but she's a successful podcast and blogger in the military community. It was perfect because she was willing to teach me what she did, but we had that trust there from a long friendship in a previous duty station where she knew my work ethic and she said, I don't care if you don't have any skills. I need your reliability and your willingness to do this. And so that ended up being a phenomenal relationship that really helped me build my confidence in the blogging and podcasting world. So I continued on in your course. And my third client was a job opportunity from your student group. It was one of those. I booked a discovery call with this person who had the job opportunity. She said, I knew I needed you before we even got on this call. I could tell through our email communication that you are exactly who I needed. It has to be you. So now I'm barely out of the course and I have 3 clients. I'm just wrapping around my head around the fact that I've even done this in the first place. And I'm just sitting here in awe thinking, Emily totally knows her stuff because I'm doing what she's saying and it's totally working. My dream client came to me sideways through you. So another piece of advice that you give in the course is join these large Facebook groups and just kind of hover around and make yourself known when it's appropriate, but otherwise just kind of hang back and watch what's happening. So I am part of one of these super large mega mom entrepreneur groups on Facebook. And I don't really speak up a whole lot on that group, but there was one thread that really got a hold of me and I just could not respond. And so my dream client actually found me on that thread. They were also in the group. They happened to see my response, which had nothing to do with the industry or I wasn't pitching myself. I was simply giving honest feedback about the discussion topic. And they tracked down all of my information, my let's do my best to put a Facebook business page together and a let's throw a website up on the website. They realized that I not only have the virtual assistant skills, but I have a background in education and they are a STEM curriculum developer for elementary teachers. So they found me, we chatted and it was kind of one of those things. They said, I was looking for a unicorn and I found it in you. And I said, well, that is really funny that you use that term because my mentor, Emily, calls us unicorns too. And they said, we really didn't know what we needed or how it was all going to work, but you were the perfect person. And like I said, the thread, the Facebook page, it was completely unrelated to what we're doing together as a team. It was not education based or anything. They just happened to be on that page. Lo and behold, they are literally my dream client. And we've been rocking and rolling since last August.
Wow. There's something to be said. And I want to throw this out there right now. You talked about the other client loving the way you were communicating with them via email before your discovery call, the way you held yourself in this group. Professionalism is everything. And again, we go down to that number one hiring quality, right? If you're going to be representing your clients, if you are going to be working with them, that's what they want. So kudos to you. Thank you for all VAs for defending us because, you and I are already on the same page here, but that's quite often the problem in all
Yeah.
of the groups I'm in. And I don't always take the time to respond, but and I like that you use my advice too about being active in those groups. Sometimes there are toxic posts and drama
Yes.
in some of these groups, but you don't have to get involved in everything. And that's so funny that a non-businessy post paid off and then
Yeah.
she cyber stalked you and
Yeah.
it worked.
So many of those posts are like, I'm a VA, I can do this, I can do that. And it's just constant pitching.
Oh
And
my
it
gosh.
was not like that at all. It was actually a discussion that they just happened to like my response. And then they tracked me down. And at the time, I'm brand new to this. And I now have 3 clients. And I thought, I don't have space for one more. I don't. But then I talked to them and I was like, I just cannot pass up on this opportunity. So I'm going to make space. And I was very honest with them. I told them, I said, I am brand new to this being a business for me, but I am not new to these skills. One thing that I want to be very careful about, I would never want anybody to think that there is something like super special about me. I didn't have a super special education. I didn't have super special skills. I'm not an expert in any one thing. I'm just your normal everyday person. And I have found over the last almost 2 years, what sets me apart is just my willingness to show up and do the work and being reliable. That seems so simple, but that is what sets me above everyone else. I show up when I say I'm going to show up and I get it done. And my clients appreciate that. And they know that about me. I don't think it has happened yet. I don't think I have missed any deadlines. I'm sure it will come up at some point. But they trust that if I am falling behind or if something has come up, that I'm going to communicate with them. And it turns out they're pretty easy to please.
And I think the cool thing is it's never a burning fire. It's never a do or die situation. And it sounds like you have your dream clients here. So how many hours a week are you working?
Okay, so now fast forward, a year and a half has passed since I started your course, and I have moved yet again, surprise. My kids are now all school aged, and you have to remember, I started April 2020, so that means COVID had just hit in March. Literally, I started with that first client and COVID hit the next week. And so here, my entire life shut down overnight, schooling included. And all of a sudden, my business launched and took off. So here I went from thinking that all my kids were in school to now having all my kids and my husband at home with me while I launched this business. So it was a little crazy. And life happens. Things changed with a few of my clients that I was working with, also military spouses. So they moved or changed directions, things like that. So now I have actually scaled back to just my one dream client, but I have increased my hours with them. So they absorbed all of the hours that I had reserved for my other 3 clients and then some. And honestly, they're constantly telling me, we want more and more and more of your time. So as much as you will give me, we will take. And so for me, booked out is a maximum of 20 hours a week because I am a mom and a wife first. And that kind of even includes the time that I'm investing in myself and in my own business as well. So 20 hours is kind of my hard and fast.
Good for you.
Boundary of time. So I have had up to 4 clients at one point with those 20 hours a week. I'm now down to my one dream client and expanding from there.
This is awesome. And I teach this in the course, and it's kind of a messy start. Like you get a couple clients, it's a little bit hard juggling them, but for many freelancers, that goal is to align with the dream client, simplify things, become a dedicated teammate, being an independent contractor. Sometimes there's discussions about employee status, but like that sounds like the perfect definition of success.
Yeah, it is. It has been a dream. And I cannot even tell you, it was so heartwarming. We just passed our 1-year anniversary working together in August with this client. And we got on our weekly call and, tears were in her eyes. And she was just like, you've changed the game for us.
Oh.
And it's just like,
how does that feel?
Oh, I mean, I get teary-eyed just thinking about it because it has changed the game for me.